Welcome to Gradient, a panel discussion on getting admitted abroad. We know this is the time of the year when most of you are worried about the SOPs, the LORs, the entrance exams, the opportunities and the universities. NITSAT brings a solution to all of these problems by conducting this panel discussion when all of your queries will be answered. When all of your queries will be answered by none other than our own alumni who have studied and completed their hires abroad. We are too glad to have an amazing response from the student side. So many have registered for this session. In this session, we'll get insights on how to prepare, what steps to be taken, how to get financial assistance, and a lot more. We have collected a lot of questions through the Instagram stories and the forms that we circulated. Fret not, if you still have queries or questions, you could put them in the comment box and we will pick them and they'll be answered live during the session. Stay tuned.
Hello everyone, I am Pranav. I am a member of NITSAC, the official student-run alumni council. And there's an announcement to make is that we'll be giving away free resources to students. I think you must have received the message. And it'll be received in your email, which will be available only if you are registered for the event. So if you have not registered, this is the time to go and register and share it away to your friends. And please do register. And towards the end of the session, we'll be giving away a free book, Admitted the Book, which has also been informed, and which will be given as a lucky draw towards the end of the session. And more information will come soon. And in a few more minutes, we'll be having our Dean alumni student will be joining soon, and he'll be giving us the opening address. So we'll just have to wait for him. Another announcement, again, similar announcement for those students who haven't seen this before. There is an email which you would have received for the free resources and is for the students who have registered. Please do get your copy now. We have our we have Dr. S. Raman Sankaranarayanan sir, Dean of Institutional Development and Alumni Relations from NIT Trichy. He's been very supportive of our club, which was founded only last year, and he's been personally involved, and he's been very enthusiastic and supportive from the beginning. And it's an honor to have him here. And sir will be giving us the opening address. Sir, are you there?
I connected. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Do I go ahead now?
Yes, sir, you're live now. You're available.
Yeah. Thank you, student volunteers, for this opportunity extended to me. It's really a great pleasure interacting with our alumni and our students. It's really nice that the student volunteers, namely NITSAC, supporting the alumni relations activities of the institute, have proposed this activity connecting the present students of the campus community with young alumni who are abroad studying in different countries. I am extremely grateful to the students, or rather the students, alumni speakers who are joining us from Australia, Canada, US, and Europe. It's very kind of you to spare your time for the alma mater. It makes a big difference on the young minds. Your speech, your input will definitely make a big impact on your juniors who are also carrying with them lots of aspirations. It's very nice way in which you are contributing to the campus. I am sure the students will benefit in multiple ways from the various suggestions being offered by the young alumni who are studying abroad. And these kind of connects between students and the alumni of variety of batches, this is what makes a campus successful. So NIT Trichy is extremely successful because of the great alumni who are providing great support to the society at large, always making themselves available for activities in their alma mater, and the great students, very innovative, very keen to learn, very keen to perform. This combination of alumni and students definitely makes this a very strong and capable campus. So I am grateful to the student organizers and the alumni speakers for this session. All the best. I will remain connected. If I can be of some use beyond this occasion, please let me know. Feel free to drop a mail or ring me up by phone or contact me by WhatsApp. We are at your disposal. Thanks a lot and all the best for the program. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. And we'll be starting the event shortly. We'll be having our hosts and our participants joining soon. We expect them to come online. Obviously, there is the time difference in all different countries, and we are trying our best to have them online. This is the link which is used to get the access to the free resources, which will be mailed after the event. So if students are not able to access the resources, please do wait. It'll be sent after the event, and this is the link for that. It's on the comment section. Please do use it.
So a very good evening, everyone. I'm Pranesh Ram, and I'll be moderating the panel discussion today. To tell a bit about myself, like most of you guys, I'm also planning to pursue my master's abroad. So like all of you, I'm also really excited to get the insight from the panel members, and I'll put my best efforts to get the best out of them. So, in the year 2000, around 66,000 Indians traveled abroad to pursue their hires every year. But whereas if we talk about 2016 or 2018, around 3.5 lakh students go abroad every year. There is an annual growth rate of over 20% every year. So there is no doubt that the students are finding this option to be attractive, convenient, and effective. So without any further ado, let's not waste any more time and jump in right away. So let me start introducing the panelists here. So I take pride in welcoming our first panelist, Dr. Shivang Pathak, who's the alumnus of 2013 batch of civil engineering. After a brief stint at the Thornton Thomaseti, he went on to obtain his doctorate at the University of New South Wales with a full scholarship. He now works as a structural engineer at Stantec. Hi Shivang, how are you doing? Am I audible, Shivang?
Hello?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me because I can't hear you, but
yeah, you're audible. You're audible, Shivang. I think there's some problem. I think Shivang will get back, I think. So let's wait for a minute for Shivang to join back.
I think
Meanwhile, at the end of the webinar, there will be a lucky giveaway.
Now I can see myself, but I can't still hear Pranesh.
Yeah, can you hear me,
Sorry
Shivang?
for the snag.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Anyways, so if I'm audible and if people can see me, I'm just want to, I don't know what was the question, but I just want to introduce myself. I'm Shivang Pathak from 2013 batch civil engineering, and I graduated like 2013, and then I started to work in Thornton Thomaseti right out from the college, and I worked there till 2016 for 3 years as a structural engineer, and later on I decided to move towards research, which was something which was already looming in my life. I really wanted to get into things which involves research and to do R&D, and that's when I decided to do my PhD in UNSW in Australia. And here I am at the moment. I'm currently a structural engineer again in Stantec, which is again a consulting firm, and that's where I am. So thank you, Pranesh, for inviting me.
Thank you, Shivang. So moving on to the next panel member, we have Rohini Muthuwalen. She's the alumnus of batch 2014 from the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department. After working with PNC for over 5 years post her graduation across operations, supply chain, and project management, she's currently pursuing her MBA from the University of Toronto Rotman School of Management in Canada. Hi, Rohini.
Hey.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Thank you so much, guys, for inviting me today. It's a pleasure to be part of this panel, and very, very humble to be here with such talented peers and alumni from NIT Trichy. So super happy to be here. Quick introduction about myself. I graduated in 2014, and post that, I started my journey with Procter & Gamble. And over 4.5 years of experience, I tried different roles in operations, supply chain, and project management. And then I decided to pursue my MBA, and that's where I'm here today at Rotman School of Management, and I'm currently a second-year student with the University of Toronto.
Thank you, Rohini. So, in your days at NIT Trichy, you're very passionate of dance and fest as well. So, you told us about biryani gumbal in your posters. So, can you tell us more about that? We found it very interesting.
Sure. I'm not sure whether you guys know about it. Trickle has this tradition of cheering up for every single event during Midwest as Briani Gumbal. So what we used to do is when some representative from Trickle used to represent in all of the events, we used to go just in time before that person used to start performing, and we used to be there cheering aloud. I mean, that used to be deafening for most of them. And I'm not sure whether this tradition still exists, but it was there till like 2015, I guess. And I'm really passionate about dance. I'm trained Bharatanatyam classical dancer. So although I took a conscious call not to take part in DP, I ensured that I participated in all the 3 years of NIT especially in dance.
Thank you, Rohini. Thank you for being here. So we move on to the next panel member, Soundarya Balasubramani. She's an alumnus of batch of 2017 from the Department of Chemical Engineering, and she's a recipient of several awards and scholarships. She's currently working as an associate product manager at Salesforce after completing her master's in management science and engineering from the Columbia University. He's also the author of the book Admitted, that aims to help students who aspire to study abroad every year with end-to-end application process covered. Hi, Soundarya.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. So,
Okay,
did we give you a
great.
tough time getting you wake up early in the morning?
So it's around 6 a.m. here, and this is not very. I do wake up early, just not this early. But you gave me a good reason to wake up, so I'm happy about that. But
Thank you so much
yeah,
for being.
absolutely, and thank you so much because I know you guys have been working a very long time to put this together, and it's not easy. I have organized events in the past, so thank you just for putting this together. Should I give a quick intro about myself now, or wait for later on?
Yeah, if you wish, yes.
Okay, great. So as anyone who's watching this can see, you can see all the basic details, chemical engineering, management science. So aside from that, I think what's worth mentioning is um, I work as an associate product manager at Salesforce. So product management is something that I got into only after coming to the US because honestly, when I was in NIT, I was a researcher and I spent almost all my 4 years working on research in energy engineering. And so it was a pretty drastic change for anyone who did not know me, who saw me from the outside. But we can dive more into that during the discussion. Aside from that, as Pranesh said, I also recently published a book called Admitted. So we're actually giving away one copy of it to one of you lucky registrants out there. And all of you will get some free resources as well. So I don't know when we're announcing that, Pranesh. Maybe towards the end of the video.
Yeah, we'll be, yeah, sure, Soundarya. We'll be announcing that towards the end. So,
Okay.
one question, you spend a lot of time in extracurricular activities like writing, cycling, and you conduct a lot of webinars and you're very active in social media too. So, how do you find time to manage these things along with your job?
It's all a matter of sacrifice because I I don't think I find time. I just sacrifice time for something else. I think everyone's doing a lot of great things. I'm just doing things that are more visible. So it feels like I'm doing more, but it's yeah, not that much.
Thank you, Soundarya. Thank you. Thank you for coming. So up next, we have Anirudh Raghuprakash, an alumnus of 2019 batch of mechanical engineering. Anirudh is currently pursuing his master's from Politecnico di Milano, Italy. A silver medalist during his undergraduate and a recipient of numerous scholarships, he is an epitome of hard work and dedication. He aims to pioneer in using technological innovations to build safe and energy efficient vehicle systems. Hi, Anirudh. Thanks
Hello,
for coming.
Pranesh, and the rest of and all of you. So, yeah, it's great to see all of you here, and it feels really proud to be back as an alumnus, to be back among all of you and to talk to you. So, it is a real honor and pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Anirudh. So you live in one of the most scenic places in the world. So tell us about one fabulous experience or one wonderful experience in Italy.
Okay. Let me let me talk about one of the trekking activities I took part in the month of October last year. So times when we could actually go outside without thinking a lot about COVID and other things. But yeah, so it was a really nice time. We started trekking around 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. But it was not super well planned, so there was a lot of uncertain things that would happen. And yeah, we continued going there, and it was a really difficult trek because it was about 2500 meters above mean sea level. But then the challenging part being that we started from nearly zero or so we had to go for a steep climb. But then the part was we had not planned about coming back on time. So what happened was we had to go to the trek, and when we were coming back, it actually began becoming dark, and for most of the part towards the end we were actually trekking in complete darkness, only aided by that of the phone. So I think that was a really crazy experience for me because it was something that I had not envisioned to do. So it was a bit scary as well, but then the thing was that you have to just keep moving down and you don't know who is around you. So I think that was really different experience that I had over here. So yeah.
Thank you, Anirudh. That was wonderful. So moving on to the final panel member, Arvind Krishna Sridhar, who is an alumnus of the 2019 batch of Computer Science Engineering. He's currently pursuing his master's in Computer Science at the University of California, Los Angeles. Arvind is also selected for the prestigious DADWISE and SNBO scholarship during his days at NIT Trichy. So, hi, Arvind.
Hi, how are you guys doing? Yeah, thanks a lot for having me here in this panel discussion. And I'm happy to help you guys and answer any questions which you guys might have for a long time. And yeah, as you know, I'm Arvind Krishna. I graduated from NIT Trichy 2019, and then I directly came to Masters in Computer Science at UCLA. Here I am taking courses on computer vision, NLP, and I'm liking this a lot. And yeah, and then I did my internship at Qualcomm here. So yeah, things have been going well till now. Let's see how it goes.
Arvind, what do you miss the most from NIT Trichy?
Yeah, I would say the cycling sessions. I would say that because it used to be very calming for me, and yeah, I used to reflect back on the day when I cycle for some half an hour during the night. Yeah, that I miss a lot, and due to COVID, I can't go out as well. So that's something I miss a lot.
Sure, thank you so much, Arvind. So now that we have introduced all our panelists, so let's kick off the discussion right away. So I too am a master's aspirant. I also want to do master's abroad. So for every person like that, around 1,000 things in mind, the first thing that strikes everyone is why should I even do masters? So compared to placements and other stuff, why should I do masters? And if I do masters, why should I do it in should I do it in or my core, or should I do it in management, or should I go for a PhD? So I think you guys are best fit to answer that. So anybody could take over.
Yeah, so your question is whether you want to do masters or PhD or MBA, and you also want to know when you want to do that, right? So I would say if you are in this confusion, then it is kind of better to do it after a couple of years of experience in the industry. That way, you will have some idea on how each of these roles work in the industry and what you want to actually pursue. And other than that, let's say if you want to if you want to do research, I would suggest you to apply right away for PhDs because professors are more welcoming to take students directly from the academia because I mean they might have that touch of doing academics and taking up courses and doing research. Yeah, that would be better if you are fully aware of all your options and then you want to start off as a PhD student. Other than that, I would say it's better to go to an industry so that you have the experience of different subdomains in your field. and you'll get an idea on what you want to. How you want your career to be in 20 years down the lane. Yeah, so that might give you more clarity if you are not having much clarity with respect to job.
Thank you, Arvind. Would anybody like to continue?
Yeah, I think I can jump in. So, adding on to what Arvind mentioned, if you're specifically looking for MBA, I would highly recommend have around 2 to 3 years of experience before even you start looking for MBA options, especially if you're looking at abroad MBA. Now, there's a difference when I say MBA within India and MBA outside India. Within India, you may not necessarily need work experience to get into B schools like IIMs, but for sure, ISB does look at minimum 2 years of experience. But if you're looking at international MBA, the average years of experience any top B school would have is around 4 to 5 years of experience. So ensure that you have that clarity before you get into MBA and have through. So specifically, when you talk about work experience, when you work for a few years in industry, you would definitely understand why you want to even take up an MBA. Because for me personally, when I started my journey at Procter and Gamble, at the end of third year or so, when I was handling multiple responsibilities, there came a situation where I was hitting the ceiling. My learning curve was, in a way, getting slow, and I wanted to break that ceiling to get a very accelerated learning path. And also, I wanted an international global perspective on business. And that's when I got a role in P&G where I was looking at managing capital expenditure, budgeting for different plants across India, Middle East, and Africa. And that's when I started really getting this interest in understanding the business overall and strategy overall. And just to add that internal perspective on business, when I realized that I need to have a global exposure. And last but not least, this is MBA is going to be my last education in my entire journey. So I wanted to make sure that I invest 2 good years of my life on building core skills like communication, negotiation, and networking, which is a very big part of MBA. So those are the different things that I looked at personally when I was pursuing MBA. But have my top level recommendation would be have few years of experience in industry before you dive deep into MBA.
Sure, that was insightful, Rohini. Sounded, yeah, you have pursued a very different course compared to MBA. You've pursued an MSc Master of Science in Engineering. So can you take us through on that journey? So why did you actually choose that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to pursue a PhD in chemical engineering until at the end of my third year. So during the summer of my third year, after my third year, I came to the US on the SNBO scholarship to intern at University of Wisconsin-Madison for about 3 months. And I think because in hindsight you can only speculate why you made these decisions. I think when I was with the other interns here, I saw how they felt about what they were doing, and it kind of made me. It was clear that I didn't feel the same way about my work, and so it was the first wake up call that hey, maybe doing a PhD is not what you're meant to do, because until then I didn't have a reference point of how I was supposed to approach my work, and I realized that actually I have a lot more fun working on things outside the research lab than inside it. And while I have utmost respect for anyone who has the grit to pursue a PhD or a master's in a research-oriented track, I just realized that I would be a very unhappy researcher if I went on to pursue that. So it took me 4 months to really go from doing a PhD in chemical engineering or to doing a master's in management or a master's in management science and engineering. I even applied for a deferred MBA program at a few universities like Stanford and Harvard in the US. So I definitely kind of run the gamut when it came to applying to universities in both engineering and management side. I would just tell anyone who's watching this that don't blindly follow something because you did something in your undergrad. Don't think that you have to do the same major in your master's as well. You do get the opportunity to change. Unfortunately, I don't know if NIT is still the same, but when I was there, they did not let you switch branches, even if you wanted to, which I think is very, very backwards. But at least in your master's, you get the chance to do that. So definitely take leverage of that, especially if you have doubts of your passion or your interest in what you're currently doing. And to test that, I would ask yourself, over the past few years, ask yourself what were some of the most fulfilling moments that you felt, or when you felt like you were doing your life's work. And I know these sound very abstract, but I think everyone can connect to it when you really sit down and think about it. So I would just say that don't take this decision lightly, because it will set the trajectory for your next few years at least. So it warrants you to spend at least some time thinking about it.
Thank you, Soundarya. So, Anirudh, would you like to tell your perspective?
I would like to chip in at this moment. I think from my point of view, one of the main core reasons why I wanted to pursue my master's was I felt the need to learn a little more of mechanical engineering itself. I know it sounds funny because after 4 years of your bachelor's, you think you learned some things, but then in my opinion, I felt that it was a kind of it was not a learning which I had in a lot of depth. So I felt that I had a taste of all of the different topics in mechanical engineering, and it really gave me the moment to sort of understand what I was actually enjoying doing. And yeah, as you know, I was also a member of PSI Racing, and it was kind of a link between what I wanted to do, and I was actually fortunate that what I'm passionate about also aligns with the field of study that I'm doing. So at least even from my bachelor's. So I think it made a lot of sense for me to go to pursue a master's. I think there is always this question of why I chose master's and not the PhD. In my opinion, I think that a PhD is something where I would need to have a lot more of commitment. And for some reason, this was something that happened a year ago, but I somehow keep seeing the PhD as a kind of academic as a kind of something which people do to get into academics. I think it was completely wrong. So I don't think it is a very correct notion that I had when I made the decision. But then at the moment, I have no regrets. So I think I also would like to complete my master's and then get some experience before I actually think about whether I want to go into maybe like the side of MBA, or if I would like to do PhD or something that is completely unheard of. So yeah, I think that is my take on this.
Thank you, Anirudh. So when a student thinks about masters in management, there are a lot of options thrown in front of him. There is MIMs, masters in information management, MEMs, masters in engineering management, MBA, and MSE, which Soundarya has pursued. So how are these differing from one another? Anybody could throw some light on it?
Sure, I think I think Roshni can talk more about an MBA, but I'll just talk about MIM versus engineering management. Honestly, I think all of these degrees are unique in the sense that my degree, I was able to pick 8 out of 12 courses that I had to take, which meant that I could really craft the path of my career by picking the right courses. Because from the same batch, I became a product manager. But then I had my friends and peers who became software engineers and machine learning engineers and data scientists and consultants. So you see a whole lot of diversity when it comes to the career path someone takes. Of course, there is always, the proportion. There were more people who went into consulting than software engineering, but it doesn't mean that you cannot do it though. So I think at least my degree, or in general, engineering management gives you that ability to switch between either if you want to go completely into business, you can pile on more courses from the business school, or you can go into piling on more courses from the engineering school or even from a different school. At least Columbia had that flexibility. For an MIM, on the other hand, it's much more geared towards a career in business. At least when I was I applied for a master's in management at HEC Paris, which is I think one of the best universities in Europe, at least. So their program was 1 year as opposed to 3 semesters, which was in my case. So I think 1 year definitely gives you less time to prepare for your internship. You don't get a chance to intern, rather, you directly go into the workforce. So there are these different things to think about. But I think at the core, all these degrees give you a chance to prepare for your internship.
I I think Soundarya has frozen.
Yeah, I
Rohini,
think I can jump in
yeah.
quickly for MBA. So when it comes to MBA, right, you can find 1 year program and 2 year program. Sorry, are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, yes, you are audible, Rohini.
Great. So when it comes to MBA, it's primarily designed for people who have good years of experience in industry. Because if you look at my cohort, especially, we have people literally from 32 countries, from different backgrounds. We have people from military, have doctors, we have people from arts, commerce, engineering background, or people who have no clue what they want to even do. We have people who are investors who are looking to invest in companies. We have people who are running their own businesses and they want to learn some kind of frameworks in MBA and go back to their businesses and make it profitable. We have career switchers. So MBA is a program which will allow you to gain those business frameworks and toolkits that you would want to do, that you would want to learn, and make your career as an accelerated program. Let's say, for example, take my case. I'm from an FMCG industry and I was primarily in supply chain and operations. But when I moved into MBA, my main goal was to understand different functions, like how sales operates, how HR operates, how marketing operates, what are the different things you look at when it comes to finance, what are the different career paths, let's say in investment banking, what are the things that you do as a consultant. So when I am in my first year of MBA, I get that exposure on all these different functions and all these different subjects as a mandatory course. And then once I'm done with my first year, I can go ahead and choose what I really want to pursue, because now I have gotten an exposure as to what is sales, marketing, HR, finance, and organizational behavior. And now I can see that, maybe I want to do business design. Business design is a completely new methodology which is coming into industry. Let me take an elective from there. Now, also, I want to do something on brand management. So I will pick an elective. So it's very, very personalized, customized journey that you can have in MBA. What skill set you want to pick and which career that you want to train for yourself. So that's what MBA is, and I would highly recommend you guys do a NPV analysis. That is something that I did personally before I started my MBA journey, to see whether this course at this point of time in my life, this level of investment, does it really make sense? And talk to people, talk to alumni, talk to current students in the B schools and understand why they chose that particular school and why MBA made sense for them, and try to see whether it really fits into your journey, whether it fits into your requirements at this point of time in your career.
Thank you, Rohini. So, Shivang, would you like to tell us how you started doing PhD? Why did you want to do PhD? That too after having a set of work experience. So, why did you want to get to PhD?
I don't think he knows that you asked him. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think he's having a lag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry everyone. First of all, I think there's I hit a technical snag or something. I still can't hear, but I think you guys can hear me, and
Yes.
and I'm just juggling between YouTube Live and this thing. So I guess you can hear me. There's a 10 to 15 second lag. I think I initially thought it was 5 second, but it's 10 to 15 second. Anyways, so what I'm I think the question was why did I choose PhD and why not. So I think I heard Anirudh um, talking about like you wanted to learn more about mechanical engineering, and I think it was pretty much the same case for me, that I wanted to learn more about civil engineering. And so I think I wanted to learn more about civil engineering, and I was in industry. I saw like how structures are built and how industry works, and I was always inclined towards research as well. And I found that, okay, I think that's where my calling is. So I think between masters, MBA, and PhD, I think you have to be very much inclined towards research if you really want to do PhD. And I think that's what my calling was. And I think one reason why I chose Australia, which is something which we're going to discuss later, is that you get your PhD done here pretty quickly. So I think I think I found that that's a good idea to do. And I think I was fortunate enough to get direct PhD without doing a master's. So I think that's something which driven me. So it's just, there are like a couple of things which fell into the place, and I think that's how I ended up doing a PhD. Uh, if I look back, I think it depends whether you really want to do masters or PhD. Or direct PhD is when, like, if you think that you know a lot about the industry, you know a lot about what you're dealing with, probably go for direct PhD. Don't waste your time doing masters, right? If you think you need to learn more, so it's like a conundrum. Like, if you know more, you can do more things in your PhD, right? But if you don't know more, then probably it's very difficult for you to stay alive in PhD. And there are like horrible stories and PhD people dropping out and all those things. So I think it's a big, it's a feat where you have to really sure about what you want to do. You have to be really driven towards research. So I think if that answers the question.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Shivang. So moving on to the next topic. So once we fix that, okay, I'm going to do masters, and we also fix our stream. I'll be doing it in management, or I'll be doing it in the core. The next part would be that we'll have to start building the profile based on what we are going to pursue. So what do you guys think about it? What would make an ideal profile?
Can I chip in here?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. One small. I don't know. From it's something that I have in mind. I do not actually like the word or like the term about building one's profile, because I think the decisions with regard to whether you want to go to a master's or what you want to do further in your career depends a lot on all of the little experiences that you get during the university. So I think if you were to decide that maybe in the first year of your bachelor's, once you come in and then you say, okay, I am going to do my master's. So in order to get there, I am going to do the following things. Maybe I don't know. In my opinion, I don't think it is something that really happens. So I feel that it's probably the little experiences that you get along your academic career are what build up into whether you want to do a master's or whether you want to do a PhD or a direct PhD, as Shivang was saying, or also going to management or any other different fields. So I think as a student, I think it is important that all of you can also in a certain way try to try different things. And yeah, I mean, it will be a learning experience wherever you go, and then probably with all of that you can finally take a decision towards going ahead into the way you feel is right for you. So I think it is all of these little things that actually build up and lead to where you really go in your career. So I don't know, probably it is a sort of different kind of opinion compared to what the others might have, but I think this is something that I believe in, and I think it works that way. So yeah.
That was a very different viewpoint. Yeah, would anyone like to take it?
Yeah, so I would really agree with Anirudh, and you can't really pre-plan your 4 years of bachelor's, that's for sure. And I would say it's I mean, with new experiences, we'll be able to take informed decisions. It's kind of like a reinforcement learning where you have to first explore your area first by by taking part in different clubs, and then doing multiple internships and courseworks, and then looking at the current research area. I'm basically talking about technical field. So yeah, go through different top research papers that are published in each subdomain and see whether you like it or not. And then you should also do some projects in different areas and see which gives you more joy and which you would like to work in a long term. And yeah, so you can't pre-plan your stuff, but I would say be sincere in your academics, because that's something everyone wants to look at, because it's not about whether you were able to get 10 point or something like that, but just make sure your GPA reflects your sincerity towards academics. Yeah, I mean, this is something profs have actually told me. I mean, so yeah, you can depend on that statement. And also, yeah, you should take part in different academic and technical clubs, and look at whether you are whether you're interested in building stuff. Then it will be good for you to go for multiple industry company internships, or if you want to try out research internships, you can go for that for a couple of months, and then look at which one you like more, and then you can pursue more internships in that area. By the end of third year, I hope with all these experiences, you will get some idea on what you want to do with your life, and that will be really helpful. More than thinking of how to build my profile, I would say try to explore as much as you can, and then be sincere at it. That itself will give you a good profile. Yeah.
Thank you, Arvind. So would Soundarya or Rohini like to explore and talk about the management side?
Yeah, actually, more than the management side, I have another line of thought here. I agree with what the two panelists said before. My line of thinking is that you don't have control over certain things in your life right now, especially if you're in your final year right now. You don't have a lot of control over your GPA. So I would stop worrying about that. If you have a low GPA, I know that can be bad for you, but there is nothing you can do to change that right now. So as hard as it can be, stop worrying about things that are not in your control, and rather focus on things that are in your control. Such as your statement of purpose, your resume, your recommendation letters, any other essays you might write for the university. All of these things are still in your control. So I would stop worrying about things like GRE scores and GPAs first of all, and shift your focus on these parts of the application where you can put your best foot forward. I know all these topics are honestly, in fact, I mean, all these SOPs, resume, LOR, all this takes an entire webinar in itself. So I'll just talk about the SOP for now. That's a very hotly contended topic for an application, and I know people tend to overstate the importance of it. So I would just say that when you start writing your SOP, don't aim for the ideal SOP because you will never get there. I wrote 8 drafts of my SOP and I still did not feel like it was complete. So it's pretty futile trying to get there. Rather, in hindsight, I would encourage that just ask yourself if you answer the following questions in your SOP. I believe the questions you need to answer are: why this major and university? Why me? Why am I qualified? How am I qualified for this major and university? Um, and what's the long-term goal? I do think it's important to give them a vision of what your grand goals are in life, and talk about how the next step that you're taking right now somehow connects to that eventual North Star goal. So if you can answer these questions, if you can make a friend sit with you and ask that friend, do you feel like I'm answering these questions as you read the SOP? I think you should be fine. So just don't try to, don't worry about things that are not in your control, and don't try to get to the ideal SOP because you're not going to get there. I actually, one of the free resource that I've asked Pranesh and Venkat to send you all is the chapter on SOP from my book, which I published for free for everyone. So I've gone into a lot of depth there about how you can begin your first draft. So hopefully that helps you.
Thank you, Soundarya. That would really be helpful. So, Rohini, would you like to add on anything to it?
Yeah, I think I totally echo what others mentioned. But if you're talking specifically about MBA, there is no secret recipe or no straightforward answer as to what is that ideal profile that will help you crack and admit at MBA. I would say there's not much you can do when you're doing your undergrad, but there's a lot more that you can control when you're actually entering the workforce, because that's where the major crux of your profile will start building for your MBA application. So I remember when I was working at PNG and a couple of people from my batch were applying for MBA. And something that I noticed peculiarly in my batch was a lot of people were getting into volunteering and NGO kind of work, thinking that that's a really good buzzword to have and that is going to gain you some kind of brownie points on your resume to crack MBA. Never do things which you wouldn't enjoy or which is something that you're not passionate about. Don't do things just for the sake of it. That's my first piece of advice, because if you're not able to enjoy something, you will not be able to talk about it in the interview. Neither will you be able to convince the admission committee that this is something which matters to you the most. So pick something that matters to you the most, something that you will enjoy, and something that you can always talk about 2 to 3 years down the line also, not just for the MBA application. So I think when I started my journey for MBA, when you look at the application, there are a couple of things. One is definitely GMAT score. So even if you're, I shouldn't say this, but even if you have lower GPA in your undergrad, it's completely okay, because they look at your intellectual ability through GMAT scores more than GPA, right? Because you will be out of undergrad for a couple of years, 3 to 4 years. So there's no point in looking at the GPA for undergrad. So focus on GMAT rather and try to get a decent score somewhere plus or 20 points more than the average GMAT score for that B school. Next one is letter of recommendation. Try to get recommendation from your manager, direct manager, or people who have seen your work and are comfortable talking about you and recommending you to admissions committee. Coming to statement of purpose. Now here, as Soundarya also mentioned, try to be personalized. Don't try and copy paste from the tons of applications that you're doing. Try to be personalized in the terms of research about the university. Talk to people in that school and alumni, understand what is it that matters to them and how your career journey fits into that particular school, so that it sounds convincing. Now, when you talk about MBA, there's another element which is interview. So after your first round, after you get through the first round, you will be invited for a face-to-face, one-on-one interview with your admissions committee. And they are not foolish people, to be honest. They have seen tons and tons of applications, and they know how a person talks, what is it that they are super passionate about, and they can gauge your interest levels for one particular B school. So be authentic. Try to bring your genuine self out in that interview. That is what matters the most at the end of the day. And of course, like I said, you can MBA is such a messed up portal that you can never know why you even got through, because there are so many multiple factors. Like for example, background that you come from, your post MBA career goal matters, what function you have worked in, what are the different responsibilities you have taken up. It also matters as to whether the B school can place you after MBA. They look at your prospects. So there are multiple factors that you can't control. So try to be as genuine as possible and try to bring out yourself completely on application. So that's the only way to go about it.
Thank you, Rohini. That was insightful. So, Shivang, you provide us a perspective for PhD. So, how do we build an ideal profile for a PhD, for applying for any PhD program? You're on mute, I guess.
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry. Yeah. So I guess what most of the universities see for PhD profile is your research experience and your like ability to so-called think critically or some. That's what they say. But what they're basically looking is if you can publish papers or not. That's all they're looking at, because that's the reward system in whether you like it or not. And there's like a whole lot of controversies behind it, but that's the reward system in all the research industry. And there is a so either you have a track record of publications or like or like research, maybe not publications, but you've done research with some organization or something, and even if it's in industry, and either that or you show that you have the capability to do that. So that's what you need. So if you look at my journey, I think I when I was in NIT, I had like just one fellowship, which was the research fellowship which I had. And I think that's something which was kind of something which actually had driven me towards doing research, but then I learned a few things, so I think that was there. And then you can do any research project when you do, like, let's say if you're in third year and you're moving to fourth year, and you can do some research project with some institute, with whether it can be IIT, can be within. If you don't find anything in an IIT, don't chase that. Just find like a professor. Just do research, because professors do research all the time. Professors, assistant professors, all of them. Just help them in some research and just use it. That's going to help you to know the research world. And and it's just gonna, like, if the research is good, and if you really do something in 2-3 months, and maybe in the first semester of like your final year, you can have like a publication or something, some research report or something, which is a very good indicator for these universities. So that's one. The other thing is, so let's say, okay, you don't have much, but you are in industry. So now you can do something like, which is more towards research, more a job where you're doing like a lot of R&D or something. So I had some projects where I was involved in R&D projects when I was in Thornton Thomas City, and I think that helped me. And so that's the ideal profile for research. GPA also matters, because so GPA does not matter in admissions, but GPA matters in getting scholarship. And I think you would need a scholarship if you're like doing PhD for at least 3.5 years, maybe 4 years or something. So you can't really sustain for that long, uh, like on just savings or funds or whatnot, or loans and all that. So I think, and then it gets expensive depending on where in the world you are, and even there in which part of country you are, if you're in a particular country. So all I'm saying is so when you're doing your work, choose a job when you sit in the placements which is more towards research and development. So that's one. And if you're like in second year or third year, just find a project in like some other university. Apply. There are a lot of internships and fellowships in IITs, ISC Bangalore, there's Indian Academy of Sciences, JNCSR. Those are competitive ones, but if you don't get it, don't feel disheartened. Just do it in your own university. It's good. And everybody is doing research. I see papers from a lot of professors from our own like department, and you can just contribute to that, and I think that should be enough for you. And then, so that's one. If otherwise, you can do masters by research. That would put you on track for PhD. So that's there. So the other one, the one which I said previously, was like more direct PhD track. So that's the ideal profile.
Thank you, Shivang. So uh, I wonder, for an undergraduate student, when is it an ideal time to attempt the competitive exams like TOEFL or GRE, and what is the ideal time to start preparing for them?
So I think for TOEFL or GRE, so I think GRE is a bit more trickier than TOEFL. So I think you would need, depending on like how much you're good with like aptitude and English tests and all, and how much you've prepared during placement, because a lot of people prepare during placements as well. And I think because a lot of companies ask for aptitude and other exams. So, uh, so what you need to know is you 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 do. So for TOEFL, you need like at least 6 months ish, if you need, like, if you want to really score good, because some universities want very good score for TOEFL, and maybe like for GRE a few months more. So this is when you're working. So this is when you're only spending like a couple of hours every day, or like a couple of, or let's say 10 hours or 10-12 hours a week or something, not more than that. So you're like doing a full-time job in India somewhere, and then that's when you have to try. So that's so 6 months, and then you have to align it so that you don't miss the deadlines, which is usually in the like fall or October, November, December time. So that's there. I think there was a comment about full scholarship. So I think if you need to get a full PhD scholarship, there are multiple factors. So I think it's just not about one about. So what does it mean? Like, I think full PhD scholarship. So for the PhD scholarship which I got, I haven't spent anything like after moving to Australia. So it's just like I just packed my bags, booked the flight ticket, came here. And I think so there's like a stipend, there's like a relocation, and then there's like, there's the tuition fee waiver. And then you get funding to travel around the world for conferences as well. So to get that, you need to have, as I said previously, you need to build that profile. And then so if you have a good GPA, that's going to really help. I'm not saying that doesn't help. That really helps in academia. The other thing is, if you don't have that, try to do more research projects. You can do some little projects with professors. Even if you're working somewhere, just tie up with some university, just contact the professor there, just say that I want to do something and help them do that. And that's going to build your profile there. So I think that's how you get the full scholarship, I guess.
Thank you, Shivang. Would any others like to add on anything related to GRE, TOEFL, and the timeline?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. Arvind, go ahead.
So, I mean, this is something I would tell about my personal experience, and many of you might be thinking like you have to give GRE like a year before or 6 months before so that you can be fully prepared for it. Unfortunately, I was in a situation where I couldn't prepare for GRE much since during the third year summer, I had this internship at Germany, and then I had few issues with myself, my health, and so it took me some couple of months after coming to college to recover from it. So that time I was kind of wasted for me. So from then on, I studied for GRE, and then I think I gave my GRE by November. And then I started writing my SOP. Like this is an not a orthodox way of doing it, but then I just want to put it out there so that like people who are applying now, if you haven't started SOP, or if you are kind of lagging behind your schedule, just don't worry about it. You can still do it, like as I have done it here. So I would say, I mean, there are many seniors who would have done it that way, and I mean, even though we don't recommend it, I would just suggest you that it's still possible. Honestly, UCLA was my first deadline college in my college list, and I remember writing SOP by just a week before UCLA's deadline. So it's still possible. So yeah, even though I won't recommend doing it, and I would suggest you to go through what are resources Soundarya is giving, it would be better. I mean, you can still believe that you can make it, and you will make it.
Thank you, Arvind. So, Anirudh, do you have anything to add on?
Yep. I would like to add on a few things. First thing, I think the amount of time you talk about preparing for these exams, I don't know, because to be honest, I don't see why one should associate too much of importance to these exams, because I think, as Soundarya also was mentioning previously, that these are all only a part of your application and they are not like the only deciding factor. So I don't know if anyone would actually want to invest, I don't know, like 6 months or something like that. To be honest, personally, I wrote my GRE during my internship in Germany. So I mean, I was able to do it. But I think it depends on people's personal opinion. But what I really want to put out is that they are not the only parameters that are going to be judging you. So maybe it's not, you need to really think about how much time you want to invest for these exams. And a little bit talking about Europe in general. So if someone wants to, I think we will discuss this later, but to put it out quickly, GRE and TOEFL are not required typically for the European universities. So GRE for sure, no. TOEFL or IELTS are asked for in some of the universities, and yeah, they also give you the ability to complete the exam after you even get admitted to the university. So that is also possible. And in some cases, they say that it is not required if you have actually done your undergrad in an English medium university, which basically works as well. So yeah, I would just say that I think maybe people need to think about how important or how much importance they associate to all of these examinations. So I think that is my opinion.
Yeah, thank you, Anirudh. So moving on to the next topic. Yeah, once we know how to build a proper resume and we understand what factors matter and what factors doesn't. So next, it is important to choose the country and the possible universities which we would like to pursue our masters. So since you guys are from different backgrounds and different countries, no, would be the best to answer. So before that, I would like to put in a stat in front of you. So in early 2000s, the Indians who went abroad for masters preferred US most. Around 65% of the Indians preferred to pursue it in US, but and Australia and Canada accounted 7 and 5%. And but now in the 2016 and 2018s, no, it has decreased, and the other countries have also started to gain traction. US still dominates with 45%, but Australia has also come in with 15% of share, and Canada with 8% and stuff. So there is a lot of traction towards other countries also. So I would like to hear your views on this.
Yeah. So I think I can pitch in. So with different countries, what? So just to give you like the research development number of jobs and type of jobs are the most diverse and most in variety are in US, hands down. So that's first thing put forward. All right. So now when you want to study like in some different country, what are you looking at? You're looking at, let's say, okay, I need to get a job. I get a job. And then what? Okay, so I need to get into a university. I do this course and I do that. And then I need to, maybe get a job and then do it for how long? So what's your future plan? I know it's a bit early, but I think that matters. So I think what has changed between then and now is that just to give you a stat, the current green card queue can go up to 100 years for Indians because it's quota based, and that's in US, and it's much more easier to get a sort of permanent working visa in Canada, Australia, and countries like that, and maybe some in some. I'm not 100% sure about Europe. Maybe Anirudh can pitch in more about that. But I think that has changed a lot because that has driven like, okay, what's going to be the complete outcome, and I think why it changes because I think because internet came in, people got to know like, okay, this is the case, this is the snag which we hit after H1B visa, which is the working visa, which is currently ban right now, runs for 3 years after your EAD card. So once you graduate, you get, so that's with the US. I think Saundarya can talk more about US, but I think so that goes for 3 years and then 3 more years, and then you have to apply for green card and find companies for that. Whereas in Canada and in Australia, you can apply for permanent residency. And I think I've like juggled too much between the like things about the country, so I have like known about that. My wife is from US, like she's done her masters in US, not from US, but like she's worked in US, and then so I think I have like fair bit of understanding, and that's the decision which you make in your later life. Like so I have like I graduated in 2013, 7 years from then, and then you start to make your life choices, like more personal life choices instead of career choices, and that's when you have to figure out where you are and how you want to be. So that's something which I think which has driven like, okay, between what countries you need to look at. The other thing is the economy of country. So let's say if you have a job, let's say computer science is pretty much good everywhere, but let's say if you have some particular type of job when you go into like some country which economy of that country is not dependent on that, then you'll probably have problems in like going further in your career path in that particular country. So you have to probably switch countries and think again about that. So I think when you're going into masters, just figure out what that country's economy is built on. So I think US is pretty much doing in everything, but let's say if you're looking at other smaller countries, you have to think of like, okay, Australia is good in this and this and this, Canada is good in this, countries in Europe are good in this. So I think this is a good thing to do in that country. So I think that's how it that's how I think which you can think of. I know it sounds like too crazy and too early to think about all these things, but I think you're bound to hit a snag at some point if you don't think about this thing. So I think that's my take on how to choose the country. And like, and depends. For me, for PhD, I realized if I do it in US, my colleagues in my company where I used to work in Toronto City, some of them chose US. US, the PhD can go up to like 5 years, 6 years, and in Australia it has to finish in like 3.5 to 4 years or something. So that's something, timelines which you need to think of. So I think that's more PhD, like based on like research perspective. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Shivang. Would anybody like to continue?
I,
Um,
go
yeah,
ahead.
sure, Rohini. No, no, please, please.
So I'll just quickly talk about my own personal journey, if that makes sense. So when I started my MBA journey, of course, it came down to global exposure. So there were three different places that I was looking at: Europe and UK, North America as a region, and Asia. I did have working experience in Asia, a couple of countries in Asia, so I ruled that out. For UK and Europe, especially if you take Europe, for MBA jobs, there is a requirement to know the language, especially for sales and marketing kind of jobs, which means that that is not something that I can attain within 2 years. And maybe for those kind of roles, they might not hire immigrants. So that's the reason I ruled out Europe. Now, when it comes to North America, there was a clear trade off that I had to make. US, hands down, it has the best B schools in the world in terms of brand, in terms of pay scale, in terms of alumni network, in terms of the kind of opportunities that you get after MBA, definitely the best in the entire world. Whereas when you take Canada, the trade-off was it has visa stability. It's a very, very immigrant-friendly country. You do feel at home when you come here. There's not so much issue with racism, especially with brown and blacks. And those were the two things at that point of time in my career. Stability and staying in a place where you feel more of a permanent resident was more important than getting into a B school, which was on the top of the list. And again, when you look at B school, you can't just go by rankings. There are different things. Every different B school will offer something different. Like, for example, Harvard is known for general management. Kellogg is known for marketing. Wharton is known for consulting. So you have to pick and choose and research your school based on what your requirements are. And based on that, you have to go. Don't just blindly go by rankings. Since we are running short of time, I just had to squeeze in whatever I had to say. But guys, Anirudh, go on.
Sure, thank you. So talking about why I chose Europe, I think with I mean, like you said, with all the statistics, I think US, Canada, and Australia are a lot of the favorite choices for people. Talking about Europe, so one of the major reasons that I chose Europe had to do a lot with the internship that I carried out in Germany. I really liked the style of working and the work-life balance that they were maintaining, and the I don't know, just the way of working and the research was really interesting for me, and that was, I think, one of the major points which actually motivated me to apply a lot to Europe. And given, let us also talk a little bit about the other pros and cons that I had to think about when I was applying to Europe. One of the definite pros I would say is with the amount of investment that you put in with regard to how much you're, I mean, the amount of investment in terms of money that you are going to pay as a scholar to fund your education and whatever. I think the investment is much, much lesser than some of the other countries, especially US, that I was looking at. For sure, there are also opportunities for the scholarships, which I believe we will discuss later. But yeah, for sure, there are the investment that you put in terms of money is much lesser. And in the same way, there is, I think it also is a little bit more of a slower paced education. So it is not 2 years straight and you are going to be moved out, or that you have to keep moving to the next visa. So for example, here I think the average length of a master's course would be 2.5 to 3 years. So it is not 2, just to clear some misconceptions. And also, let us start talking a little bit about the cons as well. So one of the major cons is, as Rohini already mentioned, one of them is the language. So it is generally a really good advantage to know the language. Apart from that, it is also with the general mode of education, it is highly driven on you being able to learn by yourself. I mean, I'm not saying that we do not have classes or something like that, but then you do not have the same student teacher ratio that is probably there in the US. So for example, I sit in a class of around 120 or 150 students. So the teacher student ratio, etc., is not very good. There is no control on the attendance or the projects or anything that you do. So you have to be completely self-motivated, and you need to be self-disciplined in order to keep going ahead. So they give you the opportunities to do things, but whether you do it or not is completely up to you. And again, I think this is also something that I can mention. that it is a little bit difficult to pass the exams as such. So it is not only about scoring, but then passing also starts becoming difficult. So it is something that is something that we probably not experienced before, and so it can also add to some of the, I don't know, mental pressure or agony or something like that. It is true that we have a very, very flexible system, so people can work as well as study at the same time. So that is also possible. So I think there are a lot of pros and cons with regard to choosing Europe as well. But one more important thing that I would like to stress on is there are some fields which are really good in Europe, and I think it is worth for all the students to maybe have a look at the different universities which are here. For example, just to name a few, I think ETH, Polyme, and TU Delft for that matter, and some other universities have really good rankings as well. If you want to look at numbers in for fields like the architecture, design, mechanical, and civil engineering. I know it is not for all of the fields, but maybe for the field you're looking for, you have some really good universities here. So I think those were some of the things that led me to choose Europe, and also some of the pros and cons that I had to think about when I go for it. Yeah.
Thank you, Anirudh. That was a very good analysis. So, what are the factors, specifically, what are the return on investment factors that one should look at before he starts applying? Maybe Soundarya or Arvind could have a go on this.
Yeah, you can go. Yeah.
Oh, I was actually going to ask for some clarification on the question. What do you mean by ROI?
Basically, before choosing a university or a country, so people think about the return on investment factors. So they invest a lot and they take loans to pursue a master's. So what is the ideal time duration that they could get it back, or they could get back the investment?
What is the ideal? I have no idea. In terms of the average, I think, like many good questions, the answer is it depends. Because I have seen, and I also have my own story on this, but in general, I would say that it depends on how much you earn, how much you save, how much you choose to put an investment versus send back to India for your loan. All of that comes into play. But if you're earning, say, $100,000 in the US, which is pretty average for someone who wants to be in tech, if you're earning $100,000 and if you save even 20% of that in a year, that itself amounts to $20,000. So if your loan is about 50,000 or even $80,000, you would be able to pay it back in the next 3-4 years. Of course, I'm discounting a lot of factors here, but on average, I think a few years, 4 years is a good bet to pay back your loan, depending on how big the amount is as well.
Yeah, I would like to suggest a few things in this area. So it's that, like, it's not about you'll start earning only when you know leave college and go get a job. So in US you can do a lot of other activities, sort of other activities where you can graduate debt free. So for example, my roommate, he has, I think he hasn't paid a single penny here till now, and he wasn't on any scholarships. It's just proper planning. You have to apply to different departments and courses to check for the TAs and RAs, and that'll help you a lot. And also the summer internship which you do. I mean, I'm talking with respect to computer science, because with respect to the job market and the pay scale for computer science, I mean, if you plan certainly properly, you will be able to graduate with less debt, I would say. And yeah, so the summer internship will pay a lot, and I think in case of me, they paid me like a quarter's fee. And also you can do TAs and RAs which come up a lot. And also this is with respect to choosing the university. So you have to look at the job opportunities and the TA RA opportunities if you want to look mainly into return on investment. And yeah, and also you should basically check with the job market and what is the starting pay scale for you in that country. And yeah, that might help you decide which university and country as well before joining.
Yeah, thank you, Arvind. So, how does job searching process work in the country?
I'm currently doing that. Yeah, so it's basically you should look at you should basically be strong with be firm with what you want to apply for. So let's say I'm basically applying for machine learning roles, and so even in that there are different subdomains, right? So you have to think on what are your strong areas and what are you comfortable working with. So choose a set of roles and then go to LinkedIn and search for the job description and see what are the skills required for it. And with that in mind, you will be, I mean, you should take the courses as such so that they are relevant to your job description, so that when you apply for them, you might stand out and you will have all the skills required for it. And yeah, and with respect to preparation, it's nothing but just going through your basics of your domain, and be ready with any questions, and also also study properly about your coursework and projects, and that should help. Also, getting an summer internship helps boosting your profile, and that will make you more visible in the job market. Yeah.
Thank you, Arvind. Maybe would Rohini like to provide the perspective for Canada? How does the recruitment process work?
Yeah, sure. So my 2 cents here would be, especially for MBA course, it heavily relies on networking. So I know most of us who hail from India, we think that networking is just, just going in front of some recruiters and being fake around them and, cook up some story that you have not actually been into, but that's not the case. I actually understood the value of networking once I got into MBA school. So here, when you look at job opportunities, the process that you would typically undergo is first year, you try to have chats with your upper years and understand which are the different industries that they looked at and what were the internships that they did. Once you do that, you have some clarity as to what are the typical roles that are available and what are the different pay scales and what companies do come and hire on campus. Once that is done, you reach out to recent graduates of your current B school and talk to them to understand the role in depth. Once you're convinced that this is what you really want, and this is, I mean, I wouldn't say that's not the right way to put it across, but if you want to experiment with something during internship, what you do is the next level of networking is you reach out to actual industry experts who have 3 to 4 years of experience. And now I have had, to be very honest, in past 1 year, nearly around 70 coffee chats, 70 different chats with different people just to prove my candidacy and make my presence felt in the complete crowd. So you have to do your research, you have to do your analysis, you have to go through the LinkedIn profile of the person that you're going to talk to, understand and research about the company that you're doing so that you can have that kind of conversations with those people. Once you have coffee chat, the next step is you go through the application process. Now, application process for different companies is completely different, but most of the companies have video interview, resume shortlisting, and next level of interviews. Now, specifically for Canada, for MBA specific jobs, the demand is really low and the supply of MBA candidates is really high. I know Canada is thriving, it's improving in terms of job market versus US, it's definitely not there yet, especially for MBA jobs. But you can find a lot of jobs for post undergrad kind of jobs, software developers and analyst roles. But for MBA jobs, they're very, very limited spots, which means that you have to be extremely competitive and you have to really, really navigate through that difficult path of making your presence felt in front of the employer and convince them that you are the right candidate for this particular position. It is hands down very, very competitive. And I have gone through that grind of going through in investment banking, capital markets interviews, which were extremely tough, especially I didn't have finance background, nor did I give any kind of CFA level exams. So there's a lot of research before you go into job market. That's the takeaway that I would like you guys to have from this session.
Thank you, Rohini. So would Anirudh like to provide the perspective of Italy?
Yeah, sure, but I think you should take it with a pinch of salt because I have not yet gone through the complete process, so I don't think I am the right person to talk about it. But I think in general, it is similar to what Rohini was saying, because also here I think networking is really important to make sure that you stand out of the crowd. I think it works anywhere. But yeah, like I said before, the language is also something that probably you have to work on if you are thinking about opportunities in Europe. For sure, you have the advantage of applying pan Europe, so you can apply to the different countries, and there are opportunities available in different places. But yeah, I think my thoughts on this would be pretty limited, and I don't think it is correct for me to start talking about something that I have not really gone through. So yeah, I apologize for that.
No problem, Anirudh. Thank you so much. So next up, I would like to focus on the visa and the immigration regulations from each country. How important is those, considering those before we choose our country? Maybe Shivang, can you start?
Uh, yeah, I think as far as visas are concerned, I think that's just getting more and more difficult, uh, and more so after COVID, because now I think the governments of each individual countries want to allot funds towards health and infrastructure in their own country, so they're just cutting down on the other things. But it's also true, like it depends on like which country you're from. So I think for visa, I think if you look at in Australia, I think most of the countries, once you have studied from their university, you get few years of like visa or like a work visa. So to like to do work over there. So I think it's just gets like I'm so for US it works a bit differently, but I think for Canada, countries like Canada and Australia, I think New Zealand and those countries, I think they need workforce. So I think they need people who are skilled enough to contribute to their like economy. So if you're working in a particular area, so I think there's like something called skilled visa process in Australia and in Canada, which is called skilled permanent residency or something, which basically what they mean is, we have our economy built on these kind of jobs. If you have skills in these kind of jobs, then we would let you in and we would give you priority processing or give you like permanent residency and permanent visas or something. So I think so when you're doing your masters or when you're doing anything which you're doing, just look at what they're looking for, what those countries are looking for, because you can look at right now and see that, okay, this country's industry is based on this. For example, in Australia, the country is big in finance and mining. So if you have your degree in mechanical engineering, materials engineering, civil or mining engineering, or maybe like in finance or something, if you're doing that, you can get into the jobs pretty quickly, because that's what they're looking for, and you can secure a more permanent kind of visa very easily. So that works there. So I think that's how the visa processes are. What I've looked at in the future is like, it looks like it's going to get more and more difficult because of the COVID thing, I think. But I think that's a whole lot of another discussion which probably will come in at some point. So that's my take on visas.
Thank you, Shivang. US has also had a recent change in the visa policies. So can someone throw light on that?
Yeah, I can. Are you talking about a specific visa policy, or do you just mean in general?
Recently we had the change from lottery-based systems to the salary-based systems.
Okay, so that is not a change yet. Just to make it very clear, it's a policy that is proposed, which is still up for public comment, after which it might become a rule or a new change, but it's not a change yet. So I know the US seems like this, this black box that just spits out random changes at random times during the year, but it's not that. The reality is a lot less boring, I would say, because irrespective of the election results, which would be out in the next 1 week or so, know that what you see in the news is a very, very exaggerated version of the truth. They have to say it that way to grab your attention. So I get that. But I also think it's important to just keep telling yourself that you should believe only things that come from the official sources. WhatsApp is it's a breeding ground for misinformation, and so I would encourage you to, if anyone shares things that don't have a source material, please tell them to stop sharing that and post in the group and speak up and say that that's not true. Because I think we tend to take information as it comes without thinking through it using our own filter. And so I hope you all take the time to verify the sources before believing something. And as I said, if you see the news, if you see news that says US will stop issuing H-1B visas or OPTs in the next year, that makes absolutely no sense, because these kind of laws, they were set after going through multiple rounds of debate in the Congress, in the Senate. So it's not so simple as to revoke it completely in one day, overnight. And so I would just say that take everything with, just know that things don't happen at random. And I know US seems like it, especially because of COVID, but it is really not that way. Everything that they're doing right now, they're doing it because of COVID, because of high percentages of unemployment right now. And it, yeah, a lot of the changes that happened this year are due to COVID, and some of them were planned even before COVID came into the picture. So getting a job in the US will always be an uphill climb. It is definitely one of the most difficult things I had to do. So if you come in fall 21, maybe it will be harder for you. But if you come in with the right mindset that it's going to be hard, that I'm going to do all these preparations before even coming there, then I don't see any reason to delay your master's until fall 22 or 23. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Soundarya. So moving on, in the recent times, specifically due to COVID, the online degrees have gained traction. So even the normal masters has also turned online, as every university are doing only are only working online. So is this a disadvantage for a person who's spending a lot of money and going getting an admit in masters and still going and sitting in the online classes only? So what do you guys think, and when will this change possibly?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Talking about the online mode, yeah, for sure. No one is. I mean, when you start or when you're actually paying a lot of money for going over there and getting your degree, no one is actually going to envision or think about going and sitting in a university for the online course. No one. I don't know many people who want to do that, but um, I think one of the other factors that you have to take into account is the exposure that you get while you actually go abroad. So I think it has to do with your life skills that you have. So there are different cultural elements when you go to each country, and I think you also get to learn a lot in those fields. Maybe it's not exactly what you're paying for, but then I think that is also something that is really useful, or that is something that you will learn. So you learn how to be by yourself, how to be in a new place, how to talk to different people, and I don't know, it is in general the life skills that you get. But I think with time, as we are able to get into a better position with regard to handling COVID, I think this is definitely going to come down. For sure, I think universities will start considering an additional way of actually streaming their lectures, which is probably happening also in an in-person class online. And maybe it will start becoming an option for the students as to whether they really want to go abroad and get the university experience in a hands-on manner, or whether they would prefer to do it through the online mode. And yeah, I think it also depends a lot on the degree, though, because on the labs and the facilities that you have, so, for some of the degrees, I think it is very important that you are there so that you can actually do a lot of stuff. But in some other cases, I think it is theoretically possible to do them online. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Anirudh. Would Arvind like to take over?
Yeah, so I definitely agree with the online courses thing that's happening this year. We are sure, so certainly missing out on using universities resources like computer labs, libraries, and other and also classes, and the freedom to ask questions, and the freedom to talk to your professors after classes about some further clarifications and stuff. And but honestly, I see this as a temporary affair, and I hope things go back to normal once the COVID pandemic ends, or maybe get some vaccinations. So yeah, I agree that students who are graduating by this year might not be able to get that experience of going back to classes, but this is something which was not expected, right? So it's okay. Let's just go with the flow, I would say.
Yeah, thank you, Arvind. So with this, I feel that we've covered almost major aspects of everything. So if I would have missed anything, or if panelists would like to add anything or provide some advice or some tips, you can go on now.
I see a lot of questions in the, I think a few at least in the live comments. I don't know if we would
Yeah,
want to take them
yeah,
up.
yeah. We'll be taking that up shortly.
Okay,
Uh,
sure. Sorry for, yeah.
yeah. So anybody can go on.
So I
I think
guess,
in my experience,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
go ahead,
No,
Shiv.
no, you go ahead.
No, so I think in my experience, I would like to just add three different things today. One is you try and invest your time in accumulating diverse, uncomfortable, unusual experiences. That is something that will help you set up for success, because we know we are in a very volatile, dynamic situation already. It is putting us into a very discomfortable, uncomfortable situation. So taking that into consideration, that is going to be a norm going forward. Try and accumulate more of that wherever you get an opportunity. Have that kind of open mindedness and be flexible, and don't shy away from opportunities that come your way. And you don't need to do cost benefit analysis for every experience. Every experience has its own pros and cons, and no experience is a bad experience. You might feel that it's getting worse, or you feel guilty of taking a decision, but 2 3 years down the line, you will always, when you look back, you know that this experience happened for a reason, and you are this particular person you are that you're today because of that experience. That is the first thing. Second, invest in building strong human connections. I can't stress the importance enough, because right now, reason why I got a certain job at a company today is because of the connections that I built over time. In fact, when I was working in PNG, I got a shift from project technical engineer from one plant to the other plant, because my sponsor knew that I had some level of experience in this work and I can take it up. It was purely due to the network that I built, and you would never know who would actually be that person who would recommend you to the next job. So ensure, the world is really small. Ensure that you don't genuinely ruin any relationship, but build on it, have more meaningful conversations and relationships with people. Third is, failure is going to be part of the process. It's up to us how we accept, acknowledge it, and go ahead and dust up yourself and go forward. It is going to put you in uncomfortable situation. People will have tremendous lows in their life, and I have been through an experience where I hit my rock bottom of my life twice till now. And at that point of time, it might feel extremely terrible, to be honest. But I'm glad that happened, because that is why I am here today in front of you guys, talking to you and sharing my experiences. So never discredit the importance of failure. It is required in a way, and it is something that will shape you up as a person.
Thank you, Rohini.
Mm,
That was inspiring. So,
yeah,
Shivang, would you like to go
I'll
on?
add with that is like, uh, with the current situation, I think it's better if you, because I think I think as Rohini mentioned, like I think work experience and networking are very important right now. So I think it's better if you if you get into the industry, learn the skills right now, right away, instead of, like, so let's say if you're getting towards a job, probably take up that job and, like, stay in the industry, get some experience, and then you will have like more roads open to you. And you can, like, you can choose between, like, if you want to do like masters, you can do MBA, you can do PhD, whatever, you can do that. And I think building networks is very, very important. And I think it's just for like getting a job after, like, because I think with in Trichy, in NIT Trichy, I think we got away very easily with like campus placements and everything. And I think that's not the real world. Even I have seen like colleagues in India, in America, in Australia, and I think those are the countries which I'm familiar with. Like, but I think, and people who were pretty good, they couldn't find a job because they had no network. And I think because the amount of time somebody looks at your CV, you would be amazed how much time you put to carefully, articulately put everything in it, and how much time people see for it. You just look at for like maybe 10 seconds is like a good thing. Like if you just see everything, all the header points, then I think that's you're lucky. So I think building a network is very important. Building good references is very important. So I think even if you start working right after college, for those who are in your final year, you have your placement or you get placed eventually, start your job next year. I think keep good connections with your professors, with your like in NIT, because you'll be needing them for recommendations and everything. And I think that's important because a good recommendations helps a lot. So I think those are the things which you need to know right now. My personal advice would be hold off for like 2021, because we don't know, a lot of things are unstable because of COVID. And I think like I think generally around the world, I think, and at least in Australia, I can say that, because Australia is in lockdown. I can't even move to a different state. And I mean, it's not in a lockdown. I think it's there are no COVID cases per se. You can move everywhere, but it's like the borders are shut, so you can't come in before December 2021. So that's something which you need to look at. So I would say at least for Australia, or like in generally, but I think specifically for Australia, just hold off for 2021. Probably take up something and then like apply next year for 2022 or something. So that's my takeaway.
Thank you, Shivang. Do any other panelists like to add something?
Okay, I think I will make maybe one statement before we. I mean, what my thoughts on the same. I think we have been giving you a lot of information to all of them who are listening right now. So we have been talking about a lot of different aspects and a lot of things, but I think it is an important decision of your life and an important step that you will be taking. But as also Rohini was talking about failure, so it does not necessarily have to be in only one way that you go and reach your final goal. So I think all of you should have goals which are much beyond your master's or PhD or whatever we have been talking about till now. And maybe you do not get into the university that you really wish to get into, or maybe there are some other kinds of pitfalls or something that you go through. But I think it is fine, and you continue working in wherever you are towards that final goal. And also, it is, I personally, in my opinion, I feel that getting into the university that you want to is not a major achievement. And I think working there and being able to build on from wherever you are going, I think that is one of the key aspects. So I just wanted to let all of you know. So it's not like, okay, I wanted to get into this university, I worked really hard for it, and maybe suddenly I ran into a failure where I was not able to get into it, or some other reason for that matter. Maybe it is not, it didn't happen, it was a small failure. But maybe you may get into another university, and then if you know you have your final goal, then I think you can keep working on and keep going. So I think that is most important, and it's not only about getting admitted into the university that you see or have in mind. I think I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Thank you, Anirudh. So now let's move on to the questions from the audience. So we had a form circulated to our audience, and they have come up with a few questions. So the first one would be, what preparation strategy did you apply to prepare for your GRE or your TOEFL? Would anyone like to take this up?
Yeah, so I was looking at Magoosh material. So they had a good set of lectures on different topics, and they also had some 500 questions in English and maths, and they were pretty comprehensive. And I mean, they were paid, but you can also look at Manhattan or other books, which are available on for free on internet. And you can also take many mock tests, and I guess ETS gives 2 mock tests. So I mean, more than preparation, I would say it's a lot about how you time your exam, and whether you're able to finish each question on time, because you can't go back to a section after you finish it. So yeah, and also you should make sure that you can sit for 4 hours at a stretch, and then make sure that you are attentive throughout the exam. And yeah, mock tests and these practice exams make a lot of difference.
Thank you, Arvind. The next question would be, if you don't have a research intern in your 3rd year, how much will it affect in getting an admit?
I mean, depends what you do after that. Like if you just want to apply, so research interns are like, I mean, if it won't matter much depending on what course you're applying for, right? I think for masters, I think they're just looking for your good experiences. So it need not be a research intern. It can be just a work experience in some firm or something, or some other university. Need not be just research per se. um, it won't even affect for well, for PhD it might affect, because if you're just directly applying, like after, honestly I don't think it's very easy to apply for direct PhD after your final year, if you don't have any like research publications or anything. So I think, and I think you may have to then do work experience and other stuff. So I think depends on which degree you're applying. If you're, let's say, if you're applying by masters by coursework, I would say maybe not. It won't affect your admit, because you may still get an admit if you're applying for masters by coursework. But let's say if you're applying for masters by research or PhD, then it probably would have some impact on that if you don't have any other publications or anything. So I mean, what I would do is, you start your bachelor's project early. I don't know at what time. I think I remember there was a talk of like starting your bachelor's project early in final year instead of starting in like eighth semester. That's what it was back in 2013. But if you have it early, just start it early and then use that bachelor project to apply as a research experience for the admits, I think.
Thank you, Shivang.
Yeah.
So the next question, give an overview of your book Admitted and tell us what makes it special.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm glad someone asked that. So, in a nutshell, I would say that the book was never supposed to be a book. It began as a 1 week project back in January, and it is the ideal example of what is called the snowball effect. Almost with every week, we added one more brick to this huge structure, and it became bigger and bigger. And in the end, I ended up collaborating with 7 others on the book: graphic designers, marketers, editors, proofreaders, tons of proofreaders. Actually, there were more than 20 proofreaders. So I think in terms of what makes the book special, one thing is 5 out of the 8 people, yeah, 8 people that I work with. So 5 out of the 8 people that I work with are actually from NIT Trichy. So I think I was very happy that a lot of people who ended up working on the book were from my undergrad. And you have to see the book to know why it's special, because once you see the first few pages, you would see that it's not black and white. First of all, it's very colorful. We actually spent almost 2 months just laying out the design foundation for the book. We approached it almost as if approaching a mobile app or a website. So I think we definitely use design to enhance the reading experience for anyone who's reading it by using different illustrations, elements, visuals, and lots of humor as well. I think it's funny, but I think I should let you guys read yourself for that. Um, in terms of what makes it truly special, I think it covers every single part of the application process. And I share pretty much a lot of all my stories from my time as a grad student. And I try to put it in as many chapters as possible. So you get a sense of not just what it takes to get your admission, but also what does it feel like to be in a new country surrounded by people that you don't know, and be having these incredibly challenging experiences. So most people who prepare to study abroad don't think about the aftermath. You only think about what can I do right now to get this dream admit. But you don't think about after getting the admit, what can I do to prepare myself? So the book kind of walks you through the entire process. And I don't know of any other book that does that or did that when I was applying back in my year.
Sure. Thank you, Soundarya. Even I've just started reading your book, and the first few pages are itself really very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. So,
Thank you.
So the last question from the forms. So what additional activities should we do to build our profile to suit the management courses? So maybe Rohini or Soundarya could go on.
So what are the different activities that you can do to build your profile? That's the question, right? So, as I said earlier, there are not specific things that you can do to, build a profile. I can just share my journey, what I did. When I decided that I wanted to do MBA, I really wanted to see and experiment different things with whether this would really make sense. For example, I did take up YLAC, which is Young Leaders in Active Citizenship. That's a program which is conducted by an independent body, and where you get to work on a live government project with member of parliament for over 2 to 3 months with a group of people. And I did take that up when I was working in PNG. It was a part-time kind of a job. And over there, I got to work on a real Make in India policy. I had to research on Make in India policy that was introduced by Narendra Modi and see what were the loopholes and bottlenecks into that policy and what recommendations I can build in. It was an amazing experience, to be honest. It gave me glimpses into how consulting works. And I'm glad I took up that experience because I realized by end of it, I don't like consulting. And try to pick things up which you can experiment with before you start your MBA and gain more clarity as to what is it something that you don't like and what is it something that you can do and explore further in MBA, which will just make your process much easier because two years in MBA is very, very, it's a crashed up course. You don't have time for anything. You will end up doing hundreds of assignments. You will end up doing hundreds of coffee chats, networking, case competitions, and a lot of other group assignments. You generally don't end up getting time to think about all of these big stuff in life that you want to pursue in your career. So try to do that early on. Try to do, take a couple of projects outside your work, and within your work, you can also volunteer for certain projects which are not in your scope of work. For example, when I was working in PNG, I volunteered saying that I want to try financial internal auditing for manufacturing plants, which is something that I've never learned before. But I volunteered to do that. And that's how I learned how auditing is done, how CAs perform audits on manufacturing plants. This is something that I learned on job. So you have to scout for those opportunities within the scope of work that you do and outside your work to see what is it that interests you the most, so that it's the journey in MBA is going to be easier for you.
Thank you, Rohini. That was insightful. So as we are overshooting time, we'll take 2 or maximum 3 questions from the comments. So let's go on. Does Pranav anything? Does Pranav have anything to add on as a banner? Okay, I think there's nothing. So let's take couple of. So Pranav Joshi asks, what courses, countries, universities to look towards for more hands-on and practical-oriented experience and education? I'm asking from a point of view of a second-year mechanical student. Maybe Anirudh can go on. I'm sorry, I think Anirudh is on mute.
Sorry. Hi, Pranav. So, talking about courses, countries, universities to look for a more hands-on experience, I think it depends on which field you are looking at. So, there are some fields which are better in Europe, some which are better in the US. And I think it is really important that you focus on the research that you will be doing later in, I don't know, maybe for your thesis or as part of your research assistantship or something like that. So I think that is really important, and I do not want to suggest any particular course or course, because I think it is up to you and it depends on your interests to take up or the courses that you like. So for sure, if you have further questions, we can probably connect and we can discuss a little bit more in detail as well. So I think that is fine.
Thank you, Anirudh.
I just wanted to let you know that I have to drop off for another event right now. So I am going to drop off if that's okay. Very sorry about this.
Sure, no problem, Soundarya. It was great to have you here. Thanks for providing
awesome.
all the insights.
Thank you so much. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. So, moving on to the next question. Can the banner be shared here? Okay. Rahul Reddy asks, it's a question for Rohini. So what's your view on the Dalhousie University for Masters in Applied CS is going out of major cities for MS would hinder the job hunt?
I'm not really sure whether that's the right question. I didn't pursue my master's. But are you asking, Rahul, about how important the cities play in terms of your job hunt in general, or is it very specific to your applied science, applied computer science?
Maybe, yeah, he's trying to ask about the cities. So going out of major cities might hinder the job hunt.
Okay, so I can just add perspective on what an important role a city plays in terms of your job hunt. Specifically for Canada, you have 4 different major cities: Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, and Calgary. These are the 4 important cities. Ottawa is there for sure, but you don't have so many job opportunities over there. Now, when you're looking at job outlook in each city, you have to look at different things. One is the immediate job that you're looking at, which you're going to get into. Second is how easy it is to transition to different industry or different functions once you get into that job. So you have to have that kind of exposure. So when you take Toronto and Vancouver, Toronto is in East Coast. So in Toronto, you have access to financial sector. Financial sector is huge in Toronto, especially banks. You have access to investment banking rules. And Vancouver, which is again on West Coast, you don't have so much of access to investment banking because that's not the financial sector of Canada. Rather, you have access to tech jobs because it's closer to Seattle, and a lot of companies which are based out of Seattle are opening up offices in Vancouver. So you have to really see what career path you want to take once you take up the first job to even decide which city you want to be in. And also, I think a lot of things play into this particular factor. Toronto is a very multicultural city. You have so many immigrants in Toronto versus Vancouver, which makes it a very attractive choice for, especially for immigrants. People are receptive to immigrants in roles like marketing and sales, which is something which is very, very difficult to crack in the US. So look at the demographics, look at what are the different opportunities you can transition into, and also look at the alumni network based on that city. It's easy to get an access to an alumni who's based out of the city rather than someone who is away from it, right? It's easy to have in-person conversations whenever that happens. But I found it easy to just walk up to Bay Street, which is like Wall Street of Toronto, and have a chat with my alumni right in the office in the bank itself. So think about that when you're looking at job hunt.
Thank you, Rohini. So we'll take one last question from the audience as we are overshooting time. So what is the process of getting a research assistantship, and what can we do in UG to increase our chances of getting a research assistantship? Would anybody like to take it up?
Yeah. So with respect to PhD, I guess you'll directly get either a TA or RA. So in that case, you don't have to worry about anything. But with respect to masters, I would say it's a process, and you have to search for different professors. So let's say you have fixed on which university you're going to go. So before that, before going there, you can search about different professors in your specialization, and try to do as many as projects as possible, and look up on different papers he has written, and also try to come up with suggestions or ideas or something which you found interesting in his paper, and try to write a brief email about it, and make sure that that email reflects that you have put in some effort to read about the professor and his research, and you are genuinely interested, not just getting a RA just for the sake of money or just for building up the profile. And yeah, I mean, props are really interested in giving opportunities to people who put themselves out and who are really interested in research. So make sure you show that and you are passionate about it.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Arvind. Yeah. So with that, we'll close the questions for audience. So thank you guys. That would be the end of the panel discussion. So now I would like to call upon Pranav, who will make the other announcements. Pranav? I think he's not. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have just asked the committee to share a Discord link. So maybe I mean, you can all join me in the Discord server. So in case you have questions regarding applications to Europe or anything or mechanical engineering in general, I think I can take them up over there. And I think it will be beneficial to also start building a kind of community for the students in Europe, because I think the network is not really built. For example, there are not many alumnus from NITT who are there in countries like Italy or Spain or something like that. So maybe it's good to also start building one. So yeah, I would invite all of you to the Discord group if you would like to have any questions regarding your applications to Europe in general. I will try to the best of my knowledge. Yeah.
Thank you, Anirudh. We'll surely be circulating the links along with the emails that we'll be sending after, in which we'll be providing the resources as well. So moving on, I would like to call upon Venkat, who would be presenting his vote of thanks.
Good evening, everybody. This is Venkat, overall coordinator at NITSAC. Before moving on to the vote of thanks, I would just like to talk about why we decided to organize this panel discussion and not 5 different webinars with these 5 eminent people here. Because as we all know, each one of them will have a lot of content to discuss with us and share their insights about in 5 different webinars. But the panel discussion gave us a factor of relatability, I would say, a sort of a comparison that we can relate with someone to the most, and that will indirectly help us decide our career choices. So that is why we brought in 5 people together from 5 different backgrounds, 5 different geographies, 5 different perspectives in one place for our students. So I would like to thank Soundarya, Rohini, Anirudh, Shivang, and Arvind for agreeing to be part of this event and sharing all of your insights for this event. I know for Soundarya and Arvind it's early morning, and for Shivang it's very late and he's still staying up. Thanks a lot for taking out your personal time and helping the students with your knowledge. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot. I would also like to thank Raman Sankaranarayan sir, Dean Institute Development and Alumni Relations, Nisha ma'am and Kalpana ma'am for their constant support, without which we would not be here. I would also like to thank the NITSAC team for pulling this event off, the design and content team specifically for the amazing social media campaign that has been happening leading up to this event. And I would also like to thank the database and projects team for structuring and planning this event to perfection. And I would also like to thank the tech team. You would have seen the banners and handling the YouTube live. Everything was done by them. Thank you, guys. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the audience who are here and who are still staying till the end and watching the complete session. I hope there have been a lot of takeaways for you guys. Thanks a lot. We'll be coming up with bigger and better events to engage the students. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Venkat. So I would like to hand over the stage to Pranav, who will be now putting up few announcements regarding the giveaways too.
So as we mentioned in the beginning, we'll be giving away a free copy of the Admitted the book. And to win the free copy, you need to tag NetSac and Admitted the book on your Instagram stories and giving the feedback of this event. And one of you will be the lucky winner of this. And before we close the session, NetSac along with ProfNet will be interviewing Mr. Arpit Gupta, EC batch of 2005. He is currently a VC investor, and more interestingly, he's the founder of Pragyan. He's had a very diverse career and has worked in many different fields ranging from engineering and management to sales and investing. And so we thought who better to seek out to ask questions on careers after engineering. It'll be held tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. and the invitation links have been sent out, and it'll be sent again later tonight. So thank you everyone for attending this session, and I thank all the alumni who have spent a long time. It's been almost 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I thank everyone for participating here. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranav. So would you panelists like to add any other thing before we close off?
There were some of the questions that left unanswered. So if you guys want to connect anytime, just hit me up on LinkedIn or Instagram and just drop a message saying that you want to connect, and we can have chat offline also. Thank you, guys.
It was a great opportunity and experience. So I hope it was useful in some way, or it at least gives all of you a different perspective of the different countries and different places you can apply to. And yeah, I wish all of you the very best for the upcoming graduate studies or whatever you are doing future in life. So yeah.
So I guess, like as the others said, yeah, I think if you have any personal questions, I know every individual have their own personal journey and own personal aims and own personal goals and what they want to seek out. So just hit us up at any time, and I think it's good to like contact, like get back to your alma mater and like contact with all the people from NIT Trichy, and I think it's very good. It feels like takes you back to your college days. And I think it's pretty good. I think it feels sometimes nostalgic as well, so it's good. So yeah, apart from that, on a serious note, I think it's good. Like if you really want like something, we can talk. If you want, we can we can, I can share phone number, you can call me, and I think that would work out. And thanks guys for having us, especially the NetSac team. And I think it's a big event. I think I don't remember if that kind of sort of event happened back in 2013, or maybe I don't remember. I think it's a big feat. Thank you so much for having us. Yeah, it's an honor here.
Thanks for having us here, first of all, and I'm happy that many people are aware of all the higher education, and it's good that you're asking the right questions. And if you want to hit me up, you can contact me via LinkedIn. And also, there are many seniors who are currently working. You can get their experience as well, like because they might have a better perspective towards masters, and they'll know what is important and what is just a passing cloud. And also, I would like to say, there'll be a lot of hardships with respect to taking courses and applying for jobs and trying to maintain your lifestyle. Like we have to cook here and all the other stuffs which NIT was just like protecting us. So just put yourself out there, and just know that failure is part of the process. And yeah, people are just in our shoes, and they have come out successfully. So let's just put in our best efforts and leave the results to the God.
Thank you, guys. The session was really informative and really inspiring. I hope our audience have a lot of takeaways from this. So thank you, audience, for joining us this evening. And we hope this session helps you on your journey in pursuing higher studies. So with that, I would like to close the session. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really
Thank
wonderful.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.